What's going on, y'all? We are back for another episode, and I am doing this episode after December 25th when we had a slate of NBA games. And this episode in particular is dedicated to the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, obviously, I'm a Denver Nuggets fan. I have been a Denver Nuggets fan my entire life, and I have also watched the Los Angeles Lakers for my entire life. And the reason we're doing this video is because the world just needs to face it. The Lakers are loaded. They're just absolutely loaded. So let me give you a little bit of backstory. So again, I've been watching the Lakers since the 1990s. So I remember the draft when Charlotte drafted Kobe Bryant and they traded the pick for him for Vlade Divac. Like, I remember watching Kobe Bryant ascend. You know, he was one of my favorite players growing up. I love the rivalry that was brewing, at least in the media, between him and Michael Jordan, who obviously they had a very close relationship. I remember watching as they got Shaquille O'Neal and they got better and they won their first 3 championships. I mean, I was a Kobe Bryant fan. And again, a lot of this was due because I loved his game. You know, I loved how he played the game, loved how intense he was. But at the same time, you know, the Nuggets really weren't good in the 1990s. Like, you know, we had Antonio McDyess, who did go to the Olympics, but outside of that, you know, we didn't have a lot to hold on to. So I was a big Kobe Bryant fan. And then obviously when we drafted Carmelo Anthony, I loved watching the games between Kobe Bean Bryant and Carmelo Anthony. Those were always great shootouts. You know, typically Kobe had always had a better team, and so they usually won. And so I've watched the Lakers. And Lakers fans, if you're watching this, let me give you a little bit of perspective. So in Denver, you know, we're always called a small market. And again, I'm from Denver. Denver is not a small city. And so when I was younger, I never really understood like what it meant that we were a smaller market team. Cause I'm looking outside, I mean, we got 1 million people that live in the city of Denver. I mean, got, you know, skyscrapers and a bunch of businesses. I mean, we're a really, you know, economically profitable city. I was like, you know, what does it mean a smaller market? But then I realized like media involvement, all that other stuff, right? Which is one of the reasons why I made this channel. So the Lakers have always been able to cultivate good teams because of their location in Los Angeles, you know, Hollywood, the attractions, you know, the money, everything that goes into making the city of Los Angeles great is what attracts people to play for the Lakers. So as a Nuggets fans, I've had to watch as we have organically built teams throughout the year. Obviously, you know, we acquired Chauncey Billups in the 2000s, you know, after we got him from the Detroit Pistons to join, you know, Kenyon Martin, join Carmelo Anthony. But, you know, in the last 6 years especially, you know, we drafted Nikola Jokic in the 2nd round at the 41st pick. We drafted Jamal Murray, who fell to the 7th overall pick. We drafted Michael Porter Jr. at the 14th pick in the 2018 draft because he fell because of injury concerns. And so we have literally raised and bred all the players that we have. And the reason that we are an elite team now is because we have built our team organically. Then you get to the Los Angeles Lakers. So for 6 years, well, 7 years, you count LeBron James' first year, Lakers don't make the playoffs. They're horrendous. They're run by Mitch Kupchak, who was an inept GM. You got Genie Bus, and then you have the Bus brother. I mean, he's just doing making a bunch of dumb decisions. I mean, that Luol Deng contract was horrendous when it came out in 2016. The 4 years, $64 million for a 39-year-old Luol Deng. I mean, just making horrendous decisions, right? And he's still on your cap sheet to this day. And so watching the Lakers make these decisions and watching the Lakers struggle, you know, as a Nuggets fan, you know, as on our side, as we're building our team organically, then watching how the Lakers are, you know, drafting and missing in their development system, drafting and missing on D'Angelo Russell, drafting and missing on Lonzo Ball, drafting and missing on Brandon Ingram. And again, they're good players. Obviously, you know, we're watching them play in other cities. They're good players, but with the Lakers, they just could not develop. And so that was really speaking to a cultural problem with the Lakers, right? Then all of a sudden, as it always happens with the Lakers, all of a sudden, in the midst of the night, before the clock strikes 12, LeBron James has had a amazing career. He's already probably the number 2 player of all time, at least. And he is in Cleveland, wins Cleveland a championship, doesn't get the help that he needs to beat Golden State. And he's at a point in his life where he said, you know what? I want to raise my family in California. I want my sons to be exposed to the talent in California. We have all our businesses and all these opportunities in LA. Let's make the move. And all of a sudden, The Lakers, who had nobody. Now LeBron James signs there, and now all of a sudden, we already know that they are now one of the favorites in the West. And this is just the 2018 season, right? All right. Then 2019 happened. Let me tell you, another pipe dream. So there's two unspoken pipe dreams that I can remember as a Nuggets fan that we didn't talk about. And it's getting Giannis Antetokounmpo in a trade, or it's getting Anthony Davis in a trade. Because Anthony Davis next to Nikola Jokic would be unstoppable. And he would cover every deficiency that the Nuggets would have defensively. Anthony Davis would fix it. And they would instantly be title favorites. If you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, again, the same thing. Every deficiency that the Nuggets would have defensively would be solved by Giannis Antetokounmpo. So playing with Nikola Jokic is a pipe dream. I mean, this alley-oops, three-pointers, pick and rolls with Jokic and Anthony Davis and Giannis. I mean, you couldn't dream up a better scenario. But again, we're the Denver Nuggets, and the Denver Nuggets with Tim Connolly, they're, again, very organic. We don't rush the process. We're not going to throw all of our trade ships at somebody just because. We want to make sure they fit our culture, also that they don't ruin our timeline with our players. Again, our best players are 25, 23, and 22. We're just not going to mess that up. So now, Anthony Davis forces a trade, rightly so. Wasn't mad at him at all. Like, again, New Orleans was not a good situation. Again, in my estimation, Anthony Davis is a very good player. He's never been an alpha player. Despite what people are saying, yeah, like Anthony Davis in 2016 and 17 had good teams around him. Drew Holiday was an all-star caliber player when they were playing together, and Drew Holiday put 40 on the Portland Trail Blazers in the playoffs in 2018, I believe. So he had good teams around him, but he just doesn't have the kind of game because he's not a playmaker where he's going to be someone who can lead a team to the finals, to the Western Conference final. He doesn't have that kind of game. He is he's the best Robin. He's the best number 2 player in the NBA by far. By far. Anthony Davis doesn't have the skill set to lead a team to the finals, but you get Anthony Davis, a LeBron James, a facilitator, a playmaker, a shot caller. Oh my goodness. It's a wrap. So Anthony Davis goes to the LA Lakers, and predictably, first year in the system, NBA Finals champion, just like that. And all of a sudden, now Anthony Davis, ESPN put out the ranking that he is the number 2 overall player in the NBA, and then Bleacher Report. And I tend to lean on Bleacher Report more when it comes to player rankings, just because of how they do their metric systems. Bleacher Report had him ranked at 8, and they had Nikola Jokic ranked at 7, and obviously all the LA fans and Anthony Davis fans for going crazy. But again, they're just different types of players. I believe that if you were to put Anthony Davis on the Denver Nuggets and trade him for Nikola Jokic, the Denver Nuggets wouldn't be near as good. If you put Nikola Jokic next to LeBron James, that team would be better because they would have 2 of the best passers in the NBA, playmakers, shooters, distributors, and high elite, maybe the best IQs in basketball. So you just put shooters and defenders around them, it's a wrap. That team would win as well. So the LA Lakers this offseason got one of my favorite point guards from the league, in a Dennis Schroeder, in a steal, because the Thunder are just collecting picks. They got every first round pick for like 6 teams until 2042. So they got Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, who is a great 6-man, a great big man coming off the bench. Okay, not against Nikola Jokic, but once again, we've been eviscerating Montrezl Harrell, but no one except for Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid can actually do something to alter Nikola Jokic's game. Nikola Jokic has been playing against a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert for years now, and he absolutely cooks him. The media misses this, but Nikola Jokic has a Game 7 buzzer beater to win the series, and he did it against Rudy Gobert last year inside of the NBA bubble in Orlando. So, yeah, there's no one that can stop him, but Anthony Davis does give some issue because of his length. But really, it's not that Anthony Davis is actually playing defense on Nikola Jokic. Jokic even talked about this before. The reason that he would struggle against some of those old Utah teams is not because Rudy Gobert was playing against him, but because the backside defender was Derek Favors. And so when you bring that kind of length and athleticism from across the paint, that causes problems, especially on double teams and such. So Anthony Davis is a good one-on-one defender, but Anthony Davis doesn't have the weight to stop Jokic. But Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis, that gives him problem because that's big athletic bodies. So Montrezl Harrell, he wasn't going to do anything. But the Lakers grabbed Montrezl Harrell, 6-man of the year, Dennis Schroeder, I like the addition of Wes Matthews. I think that when we get into the playoffs, he's going to be a better floor spacer than Danny Green and more consistent. And so I like that pickup. And so, everybody's making a big deal about Taylor Horton-Tucker. I mean, again, he played well in the preseason. I think he can be a good player off the bench. And so, we'll see. He played at Iowa State for, a year. And, he's a good player, a good, solid ball handler, decision maker, shooter. He has potential. And obviously, you got Kyle Kuzma, who I like Kyle Kuzma. I think he's a good spark off the bench. What was funny last year was watching him play against MPJ in the playoffs, because every time MPJ would do something to eat him up, Kyle Kuzma would go right back at him. But, again, it's just MPJ's in another stratosphere in terms of overall talent. I got to say, Markieff Morris, he's a good player. He plays hard. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I think that he's a great defender, a great shooter. I'm glad he stayed with the Lakers because he actually worked himself out into a good situation. Alex Caruso, he's a work hard man. I like Alex Caruso, but I don't like the way that Twitter and Bleacher Report and ESPN, they hype him up so much. They have an infatuation with athletic white guys. That's just what it is. He is an athletic white guy with a big bald spot in his head that reminds a lot of people of themselves. And so he makes people feel good about how he plays and everything. So I do get that. And I'm going to do, I'm going to do a video about this eventually. But the reason why Nikola Jokic, in my opinion, is not discussed higher on the players list is because he is a slow white Serbian player who doesn't fit the aesthetics that Americans value when it comes to basketball. So we'll do that. We'll talk about that later. So the Los Angeles Lakers, I think, are stacked. They are the ideal title favorites this year. I think that as much as I like the Clippers, I don't think the Clippers would match up well with them. Anthony Davis is going to give all of them problems. I do like Serge Ibaka, but I don't think that they're going to stop them. So I would have them as the title favorites. The only reason that the Lakers would not win the West in the regular season is because the Denver Nuggets just blitz everybody as they figure it out. That's, to me, in my estimation, the only reason that they would not be the number one seed in the West. I think that they have the ability to do so. I think that because LeBron is turning 36 this year, it doesn't make sense to play him as much, especially you got 72 games, 140-something days. It just doesn't make sense. So I think the Lakers are going to be good. I think for Nuggets fans that we need to realize that this is the hard part. The Lakers, again, and the reason I brought this up, the Lakers haven't drafted an all-star player. In my memory, the Lakers haven't drafted an all-star player that actually played with them. Again, Lakers fans help me. Just since Magic Johnson. I realized, Andrew Bynum, but he wasn't really an all-star player. Then you had, obviously, you traded for Kobe Bryant. You developed him, but again, didn't draft him per se. And then, Brandon Ingram developed in a whole nother city and a whole nother regime. And so obviously then he was better. So the Lakers they know how to accumulate talent through free agency and through trade because they know that superstars are what make and break the league. And the more superstars you have in Los Angeles, the better the team is, the better the NBA is. And I'm glad the Lakers are back because it does make the NBA better. But what the Denver Nuggets are going to have to contend with is that while the process of growing organically is the NBA should value that more. The Nuggets should be one of the darlings of the NBA because the fact that you have developed 3 all-star, all-NBA caliber players, and at least Michael Porter Jr. is on the way. But the fact of the matter is the team is doing that. That should count for a lot. But once again, this is why that James Harden trade, this is why a trade for a superstar player, a disgruntled one, like Anthony Davis was, is important. Because you need those players to win NBA championships. You're not going to have that. Now, again, I believe that the template for the Denver Nuggets to be champions this season is the 2014 San Antonio Spurs. Jokic has already brought up years ago that he wants to be the Tim Duncan for the Denver Nuggets, and he absolutely can be. Like I said, Jokic is in Larry Bird's stratosphere when it comes to overall numbers and effectiveness. But Jamal Murray is going to have to really come along. He's going to have to be consistent, MPJ, but the team defense is going to have to be there. And I'm concerned about the pieces we have to have that kind of team defense like the San Antonio Spurs did. Kawhi Leonard was a force on defense. We don't have a 6'8" long defensive-minded player on our team that's just locking down people or at least making it extremely difficult to score. So we'll see. But the Lakers are going to be a problem. I think the Lakers fans should be happy with what they have. I think Lakers fans should be happy with the squad they have. If Dennis Schroeder starts, I think that's dope because it gets LeBron off ball, gets him some rest in the corner. He doesn't have to do anything, every play. But if he came off the bench, I would like that as well. I mean, LeBron James is the best point guard in the league. So again, as a Nuggets fan, obviously it's not the best thing to watch, but again, I've been a LeBron fan since his senior year of high school in 2002. You know, I've watched him. I love his life. You know, I Promise School. I love the way he is invested in the community. I think he sent over $40 million to Akron in order to make sure that kids can graduate on scholarships. Like, I've never had a bad thing to say about LeBron James, and I won't. You know, obviously on the court, you know, he's overtly dominant, so it's so frustrating to watch. I like Anthony Davis's game. I like Montrezl Harrell with that team. He's going to bring a great amount of energy off the bench. So the Lakers are going to be good. So I think Nuggets fans just need to be prepared for the fact that getting into the playoffs, playing into Lakers is going to be tough. Jokic is still going to do what he does. Jamal Murray's going to play well. But like I said, the make or break is MPJ. If MPJ can fold into that all-star player by the end of the year, which he seems to be on track to do, that's going to be the problem for the Lakers because they don't have a defender that can guard him. LeBron James isn't going to guard him. So the thing with the Lakers is, who are you going to put on Jamal Murray? If it's not LeBron in the clutch moments, then Dennis Schroeder, way too small. Don't do that. Is it going to be Wes Matthews? Wes Matthews played for the Bucks last year, and Jamal Murray ate him up. So that's going to be the problem. If you can get MPJ to develop at a 6'10 dynamo, that's going to cause them problems because they don't have an answer for that, or Jamal Murray for that matter, because they don't have a lockdown guard defender. So anyway, the Lakers are going to be good. I believe that they're going to be a very tough out for the Nuggets. I think the best two teams in the West, in my estimation, are going to be the Lakers and the Nuggets. And again, Paul George and Kawhi are great. But Paul George and Kawhi have not shown me in the playoffs that they can do what needs to be done to win. Kawhi has, but Kawhi has never been that dude leading a team where it's just like he is the center of a team. Even in Toronto, I mean, that was Pascal Siakam and Lowry and Kawhi. I mean, they were loaded. I mean, their bench and their team was long. I mean, it was just a lot of stuff. So we're gonna see. Anyway, that's the end of the video. LA Lakers fans, be happy with your team. They're 1-1. Who cares? The Lakers could be 42-30. I mean, honestly, the Lakers could be 36-36, and I wouldn't care because I still would have them as favorites because of the way their team is constructed. So anyway, that's going to end it for this video. I hope y'all have an amazing day. I'll have another video coming out before the Houston Rockets Denver Nuggets game as well. So I will see y'all soon. Please subscribe to the channel. Let's go.